Disney is a company that is meant to derive pleasure for children. That is what it is for. It is a company, their entire net worth basically was built on the idea that they were going to give you a safe place to let your children be entertained. That is what Disney was for. It's why I've been taking my babies to Disneyland since they were old enough to go to Disneyland, which in our house was like 6 months old. It's the reason why my kids know all the Disney movies. When Disney gets political, when Disney decides that it is going to let itself be taken over by the LGBTQIA plus minus divided by sign, little caret thingy, little squiggly that goes above the letters in Spanish group, when they decide that they are going to allow their company to be renormalized by the radical trans activists inside the company, they lose business. And they will lose business. And they should lose business. And this just demonstrates, once again, America's biggest corporations are being held hostage by the woke because they are cowards. They're absolute cowards. I say this because there's an article in the Wall Street Journal today about Walt Disney chief executive Bob Chapek. Okay, Bob Chapek took over for Bob Iger recently. And instead of being a CEO, namely looking at the shareholders and saying, listen, our job is to maximize their value, instead of saying to the members of the company who don't wish to do their jobs, either do your jobs or we will fire you, which, by the way, is the way it used to work at Disney. Disney is one of the most restrictive employers in America. You must follow their rules or they fire you. That is the way that it works at Disney. It's true at Disneyland. It's true at Disney Channel. My mom actually worked at Disney Channel for a while. So I understand how it works at Disney. Disney is an extraordinarily strict employer. You are supposed to toe the line, unless apparently you are a member of the LGBTQIA !/ double quotation mark plus equal sign group. If you are those folks, then you get to tell Bob Chapek what to do, because all these people are cowards and they are manipulated by the people inside their company, the woke groups inside their company, combined with the power of the media that wishes to crap all over companies that do not repeat the ridiculous demands of the most radical base. And when you go up directly against children, like you are with Disney, that is the height of stupidity. It is one thing to do this if you are a company for adults. If you are a company for adults and you wish to mirror the woke priorities of your most radical employees, well, you know, adults might punish you. They might not punish you. Most adults will probably ignore it. If, however, you're a company dedicated to making material for small children and your content is now going to be dictated by a bunch of people who do not care about how children are raised other than if they are raised in their own propagandistic beliefs about falsities about gender, then you're going to lose business. So here's the story, according to the Wall Street Journal. Bob Chapek told employees Monday the company made a mistake by not taking a public stance against Florida's recently passed parental rights and education bill, a decision which infuriated many at the entertainment giant and has undercut faith in his leadership. Undercut faith among whom? Among whom? Shareholders? Among the woke employees that he pays? See, here's the thing about working here at the Daily Wire. We pay you to work here. You do not dictate to us how the company is run. That's absurd. And Disney, again, has hundreds of thousands of employees. And yet there are people who will sign a letter, like 200 people will sign a letter saying, we're so mad that you didn't speak up about this Florida bill, which, by the way, is not a don't say gay bill. That is an overt lie by the media. The media have been lying about this since day one. They literally started calling it the don't say gay bill because radical LGBT activists called it that, despite the fact the word gay does not appear once in the bill, and it is directed against the indoctrination of kids K through 3, and then age-appropriate indoctrination all the way up. Because of that, and because 200 employees signed a letter, the entire company is now held hostage because these people are absolute cowards. Bob Chapek is an abject coward. And it is ridiculous. They're held hostage to a tiny percentage of their own employee base because they're super mad. They've got the SADs because Bob Chapek didn't take a stance against the indoctrination of small kids in Florida, again, a state where Disney World is located. You think Bob Chapek and Disney World are going to relocate Disney World outside of Florida? You think they're going to spend several $1 billion to move Walt Disney World to, say, California, where they shut down Disneyland for a full year and a half because of COVID, despite the fact that Disneyland is mostly outdoors? Disney World, by the way, stayed open since like June of 2020. In a hastily scheduled virtual town hall meeting with Disney leadership and employees, Chapek said he understood the pain the company's initial silence on the bill, dubbed by opponents as "don't say gay," has caused, according to people who attended the event. I and the leadership team are determined to use this moment as a catalyst for more meaningful and lasting change, said Chapek at the opening of the meeting. The Monday meeting came one day before a planned walkout scheduled last week as part of an employee protest against Chapek's leadership. You know what happened if my employees walked out because they didn't like a political stance that I took on the show? They could find themselves another job. That's how that would work. Because we still have an at-will employment relationship in this country as a general rule. Okay, you do not get to walk out on your job unless you have some sort of legal backing for that. I'm not aware that Disney employees are allowed to just walk off their job because they disagree with Bob Chapek not taking a political stance on a bill. I noticed, by the way, there was no employee walkout when Disney decided to film Mulan in Xinjiang province, where the Chinese are holding 1 million Uyghur Muslims in slavery. I noticed that. Disney said it would now be aggressive in opposing an effort by Texas Governor Greg Abbott to have the state investigate parents for possible child abuse charges if their transgender children receive hormone blockers or other medical treatments. A state judge has temporarily blocked the governor's order. So Disney is now they're jumping from we have to intervene in Florida to we are going to sound off about how we think that 12-year-olds should be able to have their genitals mutilated and they should be hormonally sterilized in Texas if their parents are fine with it. This is where Disney's going to draw. And these are the people that you want educating your kids? Now, I'm not saying I'll never watch a Disney movie again. I'm not saying my kids will never watch a Disney movie again. I'm saying that when this stuff makes it into content, as it will with Lightyear, where they've already said that they are going to insert a lesbian kiss between two characters in an animated movie meant for small children, and they're going to do this to please this LGBT base, my kids will not be watching that movie. And I think there are a lot of other parents whose kids will not be watching that movie. There are a lot of other parents who, as they see the propagandistic beliefs of this small radical base take over a massive entertainment company, are no longer going to want to engage as much with that company. And that is correct. The amazing thing here is, again, I keep coming back to the cowardice of the corporate leadership here. They are such unbelievable cowards. And maybe that's because, frankly, people on the right have not organized, people in the center have not organized. I talk about, in my last book, The Authoritarian Moment, I talk about the possibility of renormalization. Renormalization is where you can completely shift an institution by taking about 20% of the people who work for an institution or who are the consumers of an institution, and you make them take an aggressive, hard stand, and then they say to the other 80%, if you go along with us, we'll leave you alone. They basically blackmail corporations into changing how they work. And it doesn't require 50%, doesn't require 100%, it requires maybe 20%, 15%, 10%. If you are loud and you have the media on your side, you're able to completely renormalize an institution that is worth billions upon billions of dollars and that has hundreds of thousands of employees. So here's the point. People on the right need to push back, because if they don't push back, if there isn't a group inside Disney pushing back, then it's going to be very difficult for Disney to feel the heat, which is why it's actually kind of important. Rod Dreher has a piece out today talking about how there is a group inside Disney who have rejected this and who say that they are not willing to go along to get along at Disney. Here's what Rod Dreher writes today. He says, you see the Daily Variety story the other day about how Pixar has restored a same-sex kiss to its upcoming film Lightyear after a gay employee group denounced its corporate parent. The Walt Disney Company for not taking a tougher line against the so-called Florida Don't Say Gay bill. Again, that is it's most ridiculous lie since Covington Catholic. It really is, that the media decided to label a bill that literally does not say the word gay, don't say gay. And by the way, how out of touch are Democrats in the state of Florida over this particular bill? They've been putting up giant billboards that just say the word gay all around the state of Florida. I don't think that's going to work out how you think it's going to work out politically, guys. According to Variety, the decision marks a possible turning point for LGBTQ representation, not just in Pixar films, but in feature animation in general, which has remained steadfastly circumspect about depicting same-sex affection in any meaningful light. These disgruntled employees, says Dreher, changed an entire industry that engineers the imaginations of children around the globe. And to be clear, Don't Say Gay is a lie. The bill is called the Parental Rights and Education Act, and you can read its details in the primary document. The thing that has opponents so upset is that the bill forbids classroom discussion of sexual orientation and gender identity from kindergarten through third grade. That is it. That is what liberals are angry about. So devoted are they to the cause of making little children sexually aware and undermining their psychological stability around sex, they are throwing a massive tantrum over a law that says teachers cannot introduce this stuff to kids under the age of 10. Within Disney, activist employees organized on company Slack channels a staged walkout this week to protest at Disney brass, including Bob Chapek. The cry bullies blame Disney leadership for making its LGBT employees feel, yes, unsafe for not fighting the bill. They have a bunch of demands, which, of course, are extraordinarily radical in orientation. These demands include TWDC, the Walt Disney Channel, must take responsibility for their inaction to protect the rights of LGBTQIA+ children and their families by making substantial contributions to the Trevor Project. They should allocate spending and outline how it will expand a content catalog to represent LGBTQIA. Also, the Walt Disney Channel should create a brand similar to the Onyx Collective, focusing on LGBTQIA creators. Rod Dreher says Can you imagine what it's like to work at Disney as a political, social, or religious conservative under the reign of this mob of tyrants? You don't have to. Today, a group of anonymous Disney employees have released the following open letter begging the company's leadership to keep the company politically neutral. The letter points out the slacktivists have created a hostile work environment for anyone who doesn't go along with their demands. Here is the open letter text, which a Disney employee leaked to me, says Rod Dreher, quote, "As employees of Walt Disney Company, we believe in the dignity of all people. This is why we do what we do. We write stories, we make costumes, we act in parades, we run cruises, we stream movies, we make magic. We do this because our work contributes to a fountain of wonder that inspires joy, awe, and delight in guests and audiences of all ages. We are proud employees of the Walt Disney Company. We love our jobs because we get to share the wonder of life and human experience with millions of people worldwide. However, over the last few years, one group of cast members has become invisible within the company. The Walt Disney Company has come to be an increasingly uncomfortable place to work for those of us whose political and religious beliefs are not explicitly progressive. We watch quietly as our beliefs come under attack from our own employer, and we frequently see those who share our opinions condemned as villains by our own leadership. The company's evolving response to the so-called Don't Say Gay legislation in Florida has left many of us wondering what place we have in a company actively promoting a political agenda so far removed from our own. Over the last few weeks, we have watched as our leadership has expressed their condemnation for laws and policies we support. We have watched as our colleagues convinced that no one in the company could possibly disagree with them and grow increasingly aggressive in their demands. They insist Walt Disney take a strong stance not only on this issue, but other legislation, and openly advocate for punishment of employees who disagree with them. An internal poll within the company went out a few months ago asking us if we felt accepted in the company. Many of us did not complete it because the nature of the questions made us worry that the results of the poll could be used to target us for quietly holding a position that runs against the progressive orthodoxy Disney seems to promote. Much has been made out of our internal efforts to reimagine tomorrow, but as much as diversity and inclusion are promoted, the tomorrow being reimagined does not seem to have much room for religious or political conservatives within the company. Left-leaning cast members are free to promote their agenda and organize on company time using company resources. They call their fellow employees bigots and pressure Walt Disney to use corporate influence to further their left-wing legislative goals. This, of course, is exactly right. CEO Bob Chapek had the right idea in his original statement that he has since walked back. This is, again, an open letter written to Walt Disney from its conservative employees. In Chapek's own words, as we have seen time and again, corporate statements do very little to change outcomes or minds. Instead, they are often weaponized by one side or the other to further divide and inflame. Disney is far more important and impactful to the world by avoiding politics than it ever will be by embracing a political agenda. But of course, the corporate overlord cowards, they are going to continue to maintain their progressivism. All because a few people are complaining. That's really all this is. Again, they are now saying they're going to get involved in basically trying to force the state of Texas to greenlight the hormonal sterilization of children. This is what they are now involved in, the company that wants to present entertainment to your children. You wonder why conservative parents now have to pre-screen all entertainment from Disney? This would be why. I mean, and here's an example of the Disney employees who have now taken over the asylum. Here is one Disney employee demanding the company take action against Ron DeSantis in Florida. Good luck to you. Seriously, really. I wish good luck to Disney in taking the billions and billions of dollars they sink into Disney World and that entire property in Florida and taking that and moving it somewhere else. Really enjoy yourselves if this is the world that you want to create for yourselves. Because I promise you, parents for thousands of years have lived without Disney. And if you wish to turn our children into pawns in your political schemes to please a few radical activists inside your company, my kids just, they don't, I like them watching many Disney movies. I like many Disney movies myself. I grew up on Disney movies. I'm a big Disney fan. We were Disney annual pass holders in California. I love taking my kids to Disneyland, but I promise you, if you turn your company into a propaganda tool specifically designed at indoctrinating my kids in your values, I will not use Disney products anymore. It is that simple. And there are a lot of parents who are like me. So you have a choice. Do you wish to alienate the parent body, namely your entire clientele, which by polling data supports the Florida bill? Or do you wish to support a few radical employees who believe not only that they get to live their lives the way they want, which again is their prerogative, it's the United States, but that they get to indoctrinate children in their values, and that if you refuse to go along with it, you are the bad guy? Here's one of these Disney employees who's taken control of the company.
He says he's sorry. Well, then mean it. Continue to fight for us and stand with us and not donate any more at all. Not just a pause, but a complete shutdown of any future donations into any candidate or into any campaign that stands against the LGBTQ community.
Okay, so this employee who's basically crying in front of a gay pride flag is now going to dictate to Bob Chapek where political donations go. Now, listen, if Disney wants to not donate politically to anyone, fine. They're a company, they can do whatever they want. But the basic idea that they should only donate to people who a particular base doesn't like, good luck with that, really. Enjoy. Who's got two thumbs and wants you to like and subscribe?